Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 29th April 2016. The first article is related to the economy in Kerala. Now, the Kerala is before the elections and it has a typical history of alternating between UDF and LDF. UDF is headed by Congress and LDF by the left parties. In spite of change in the governments, the economic policies on the ground are else very scary and they are not really changing. Let us analyze this situation. The Kerala's economy is mostly an expatriate economy. So, over a period of time, the domestic sector was killed and most of the people started migrating to the Gulf countries. And the money which flew in from the oil-rich Gulf countries, it has raised the land prices and made the entire manufacturing sector uncompetitive in Kerala. Now, the oil prices are coming down in Gulf. Economic insecurities are also increasing over there. And the second thing is, as markets have become uncompetitive, or else manufacturing goods have become uncompetitive, the only employment which is available in Kerala now is in the services sector. That's also in the low-end services sector. Now, how this economy has to be revived? In this, there are three major aspects need to be taken into consideration. One is education, next is industrial climate, and after that the producer services. On the part of the education, as we know, 100% literate the Kerala is, but the stress on the higher education and vocational training is very less in Kerala. And industrial climate is highly vitiated due to the labor militancy or worker militancy encouraged by the left political parties. And we have the producer services. So the most of the states, they are providing for these producer services such as electricity, waste disposal, water, etc. In the Kerala, the state is not taking any of these responsibilities. Now, providing for a vocational training, new innovative management practices, and also providing the producer services by the states. These are the critical reforms necessary. If the state do not revive its economy, then automatically it will lead to the fall in welfare budgets of the government. So the state of Kerala is following the rights-based welfare model. So in this context, the fall in the welfare budget will have worse effect on its economy. Coming to the Islamabad, India-Pakistan relationships. Let us see the situation in Islamabad. Let's recollect what has happened recently. The two incidents have simultaneously happened in Pakistan. The General Raheel Sharif, he has dismissed 10 serving officers on corruption charges. Simultaneously, the Panama Papers also have leaked the connections of Prime Minister Sharif's family to various offshore ventures. So the timing reflects that the Mr. General Raheel Sharif wants to send a message to the people that he cannot tolerate the corruption. So in this context, the finger is shown very much towards the Prime Minister himself. So in this context, whenever military wants to take over the power in Pakistan, a typical pattern is established. The military claims its legitimacy in the form of an institution that has to maintain the national integrity, an institution that has a reputation to be corruption-free compared to the civilian government. So is Raheel Sharif building his legitimacy in Pakistan by exposing the corruption of the ruling regime is in question over here. Now, coming to the India-Pakistan talks, so let us analyze these. So on the sidelines of the UFA summit in Russia, India-Pakistan held a strategic dialogue, but however, later the Pakistan has taken a U-turn on this as terrorism was given an explicit mentioning, but not the Kashmir issue. And after that, the Prime Minister Modi and now Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, they met on the sidelines of the Paris Climate Change Summit. Then Prime Minister Modi made an unscheduled visit to Lahore and it has revived the relations from the cold freeze. Then Sushma Swaraj has visited the Heart of Asia conference and then comprehensive bilateral dialogue has started from them. But however, it has taken a back seat when the Pathankot incident has happened. So in this context, in spite of the status quo, the National Security Advisor is still communicating on various issues, which is a positive step. In these circumstances, the foreign secretaries of both the countries have met in New Delhi on the sidelines of the Heart of Asia conference. But there is no real outcome of this. But however, both of them they stood to their lines in their respective countries. Both played to the galleries of the domestic audiences in their respective country rather than taking forward the negotiations. Coming to the Korean War, the China has said the Korean War, it will take all the steps not to allow a Korean War. Let us see it from a bigger context. Recently, the North Korea is testing various nuclear missiles and nuclear weapons. So the South Korea is tensed and it has invited United States to bring in its nuclear missile shield. So the China has objected for this, missile shield, high altitude missile shield, which is being deployed by the United States. And added to that, in the South China Sea also, United States along with Philippines has conducted certain patrols, so which is also not in favor of China and its foreign policy. So in this context, China has recently conducted a conference on interaction and confidence building measures in Asia. In this, it has clearly said it will make every effort not to get a war between the Koreans. And the second is, it also said Asia has to resolve all the issues across the countries through a open interaction and communication, and the third power shall not be given a space in this. So it is squarely directed against the United States interfering with the Asian matters. And if you see the South China Sea issue over here, recently China has deployed the anti-ship cruise missiles and also surface-to-air missiles over here. And in the Spratly Islands, it is building a huge infrastructure to deploy the heavy military equipment. All this shows that China is getting prepared to face off with the United States of America in these particular issues. And coming to Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, so it has a total 7 satellites, which are communication satellites placed in geosynchronous orbit, geosynchronous stationary orbit, and sub-geosynchronous orbit. So all these 7 satellites, these are lifted through PSLV XL vehicle. So it's an extra large vehicle. So we are not having the GSLV, which is indigenously developed. So this PSLV 35th vehicular launch has put the last satellite IRNSS 1G into the space. Now, what are the features of this IRNSS 1G? During the Kargil war, to monitor the position of various soldiers where they are placed, India did not get the assistance of GPS, Global Positioning System of United States of America. Similarly, GLONASS is developed by Russia and Galileo by the Europe, and finally we have Beidou by the China. So India also felt it needs its own navigation system. So this navigation system provides for precision up to 20 meters and which can guide our own missiles. And added to that, it has 2 parts into it. One is a normally accessible thing and the other one is giving a restricted access. So which will be used exclusively for military purposes. It will cover a perimeter of 1500 kilometers outside the boundaries of India. It means India can also give necessary assistance to neighboring countries. So the Prime Minister Modi named it as Navik, dedicating it to the fishermen and mariners. Navik, Navigational Indian Constellation, that's what is been named it as. In Indian Express, it has been covered in detail. So the IRNSS satellites, and then what is the normal range of these particular things? What is the extended range of the IRNSS satellites? It is covered in the Indian Express. Coming to the Bangladesh killings. In Bangladesh, a series of killings are happening on the bloggers who are promoting the liberalism. So it can be clearly seen as a greater strategy to occupy the vacuum created in the political space by the jihadists. So though the state opposes this as by Al-Qaeda or ISS, the clear indication is that recently from Bangladesh, recruitments into the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda are increasing, which is dangerous to the subcontinent. And coming to the next page, the two important articles over here. One is related to the jobless growth in India. Now, every month, 1 million of new labor or workforce is getting added to our employment market. But are we able to create so much of employment in the country? So actually the job creation in India is coming down according to the Labor Bureau. Between 2009-2015 if we compare, so in 2015 is the worst year where we have got this particular situation in the country where less than 1.5 lakhs of employment is created in the last quarter. So in this context, what are the reasons for this? So in this, what we can say is, we can analyze this from two perspectives. One is related to the small and medium enterprises, and the second one is related to the reservations movements. So with regard to the reservation movements, either Hardik Patel in Gujarat or in Haryana or in Andhra Pradesh, so the decrease in job opportunities has led to the increase in demands for reservations. And on the other hand, the education is very critical, but in India, education budgets are very stagnant, around 3.1% of GDP. And vocational education is not at all stressed in India, which makes the people suitable for manufacturing sector. And that is a strange thing with regard to the job sector in India. So for farmers to be shifted into the manufacturing sector, the necessary training is not available in this country. And no country developed without public investment on education. But India wants to privatize more and more its education. And coming to the SMEs issue, now they are labor intensive. But SMEs are not the focus of this government in relation to its Make in India. Now, SMEs, as small and medium enterprises, they have very low access to the credit. And also with regard to the fiscal favors given by the government, they are more focused towards the, the larger corporations. So the Make in India and all whatever the summits which are going on, these are towards encouraging the larger corporations. So if India has to reap the benefits of its demographic dividend, it has to create more and more employment opportunities to achieve the inclusive growth. Next is personal laws. Now, there are many arguments on the Uniform Civil Code. You know that the DPSP under Article 44 provides for the Uniform Civil Code. On the other hand, there are personal laws, especially among the Muslims, is administered by All India Muslim Personal Law Board. And it says that the personal law is central to its religious identity, and it is protected under the Article 25 of the Constitution under the religious freedom of religion. So let's argue this. So what are the arguments in favor of the Uniform Civil Code? So in this case, the first one is Article 15. It talks about equality based on gender. All the religions, either it is Islam, Hinduism, everywhere, the women have no equal position along with the men. So the triple talaq issue, halal issue recently for Muslims is one of the major issue for discussion over here. And the second thing is, no religion is homogeneous. So every religion has multiple interpretation. When we are bringing in personal law, it means the state is approving is only one interpretation. It means the same time it is going to be, not reflective of the other interpretations. And the third factor is, we have many non-believers. So what about these non-believers? Which law they have to follow is the major question. And in India, Jains, Buddhism, these also are been included under the Hinduism itself as per the constitution. So in this context, so that they are being forced tied to a particular religion which is not actually their own. So these all things need to be corrected. So in this context, the Uniform Civil Code is the best expression forward. So these are the things we discussed. Now coming to the higher well-being. it is about the poverty estimates. So with regard to poverty estimates, as of now we are taking about the private consumption of the individuals, but the state is also spending a lot on education, health, social well-being of the citizens. So whenever we take the poverty into consideration, we are not supposed just to depend upon private consumption, but also on the public consumption need to be taken into consideration. That is the essence of this article. Now let's revise. The India-Pakistan, wherever the India-Pakistan relations are there, the terrorism plays an important role where Pakistan is not interested to give its due significance. And so the corruption charges from the recent Panama Papers has led to again a fight between the civilian and military administration in Pakistan, and corruption is the major claim on which military took over the power in Pakistan in the past. And coming to East Asia, the China has clearly said that it is not interested for intervention of any outsider with regard to the politics in Asia, especially in the Korean Peninsula or in the South China Sea. And coming to IRNSS, India has kept the last satellite IRNSS 1G, a part of the navigation satellite system, into the space. And coming to status quo in Kerala, it is about the situation related to the employment in Kerala. So unless the manufacturing sector is revived and made competitive, the unemployment is going to increase, which is 3 times more than the national average. And jobless growth, it is leading to the new demands of reservation, and the lack of focus on the small and medium enterprises is majorly stressed. And coming to the personal laws, the personal laws are not providing for the gender equality, and also they are only giving due importance to the only one interpretation of a religious text rather than the multiple interpretations which are existing. If you can clearly see the triple talaq halal, they are interpreted by different sects in different ways. So these are the various arguments in favor of uniform civil code in India. So this is what is the articles for today. Thank you very much. All the best.